It began as a foolish dare among three friends, Hiro, his girlfriend Aiko, and their skeptic buddy Ken. They were bored college students in Tokyo, chasing thrills during Obon season when the dead were said to walk closest to the living. "Let's hit the real spots," Hiro said, eyes gleaming. "Not some tourist-haunted house, the ones the locals warn you about." They started at dusk, driving north toward Fukuoka's old Inunaki Tunnel, the Howling Dog Tunnel. Concrete blocks sealed most of the entrance now, but urban explorers had pried gaps through the years. The 1988 murder was no legend. 5 teenagers had kidnapped a 20-year-old factory worker, Umiyama Koichi, stolen his car, tortured him, doused him in gasoline, and burned him alive inside the dim, curving passage. His screams supposedly still echoed. As their rented car crawled up the overgrown road, the engine sputtered. Ken laughed it off. Bad fuel? But the headlights flickered. They parked and slipped through a gap in the barriers, flashlights cutting the blackness. The air inside was thick, colder than the mountain night outside. Water dripped like slow footsteps. Halfway in, Aiko froze. "Do you hear that?" A low guttural barking, not one dog but many, seemed to rise from the walls. Then a human scream, raw and pleading, cut short. Ken's light caught something on the damp concrete. Faint, dark handprints that hadn't been there moments before. Hiro's voice cracked as he read graffiti scrawled in Japanese. "The laws of Japan do not apply here." They ran. Behind them, something heavy dragged across the ground. They burst out gasping, but the car wouldn't start. For 20 terrifying minutes, they pushed it downhill in silence, the barking fading only when they reached the main road. Ken later swore he saw a burned silhouette in the rearview mirror, staring from the tunnel mouth. Shaken but wired on adrenaline, they decided to push deeper into the night. "One more," Hiro insisted. "Aokigahara, the sea of trees, it's not that far." The suicide forest at the base of Mount Fuji had drawn the desperate for decades. Folklore spoke of yurei, vengeful ghosts, and ubasut, the ancient practice of abandoning the elderly to die among the roots. Modern statistics painted it darker. Hundreds of suicides, bodies found hanging from branches or decaying on the forest floor, sometimes with notes of quiet despair. They arrived after midnight. The forest was eerily still. No birds, no insects. Just the dense canopy swallowing sound and light. Signs at the trailhead begged people not to end their lives, offering helpline numbers. The trio ignored them, venturing off the marked paths with a single rope tied between them for safety. The trees grew so thick the moonlight barely pierced. Compass needles spun wildly. Aiko felt watched. "Someone's whispering my name," she said. Hiro told her it was the wind, but then he heard it too. Soft voices pleading. "Stay. Join us. It's peaceful here." Ken found the first ribbon, a faded white strip tied to a branch, a common marker left by those who never returned. Nearby lay a weathered shoe, small like a child's. Deeper in, the air grew heavy with the scent of decay. They stumbled upon a clearing where the ground was unnaturally soft. Hiro's foot sank into something that crunched. He pulled back in horror. A human ribcage, half buried under leaves, yellowed and moss-covered. Real remains, not a prop. Panic set in. They tried to retrace their steps, but the rope seemed to pull backward, as if hands were tugging from the shadows. Aiko screamed. A pale figure stood between 2 trees. A woman in a tattered white dress, face hidden by long black hair, head tilted at an impossible angle. She reached out, fingers elongated like branches. The friends bolted, abandoning the rope. Branches clawed at their clothes like desperate arms. Ken fell, scraping his knee, and swore something cold grabbed his ankle before he kicked free. They emerged near dawn, sobbing and covered in scratches that looked like fingernail marks. Their phones, dead despite full batteries earlier, suddenly lit up with missed calls from unknown numbers, voicemails of static and faint weeping. Exhausted, they should have stopped. But Hiro, pale and obsessed, suggested one final detour on the way back toward Kyoto, Kiyotaki Tunnel. Built in 1927, it carried tales of forced labor deaths, cave-ins, and endless accidents. Drivers reported temperature drops, feelings of being watched, and distorted reflections in any surface that acted like a mirror. Some never made it through. The tunnel was short but pitch black. They drove slowly, windows up. Halfway, the car radio, off moments before, crackled to life with an old Japanese folk song, distorted and slowing. Aiko's reflection in the side mirror warped. Her face stretched, eyes hollow and black. She gasped and looked away, but then all three saw it. Handprints pressing against the glass from outside, leaving condensation trails that spelled nothing readable but felt like accusations. The engine died completely. In the sudden silence, they heard footsteps echoing, slow, wet, approaching from both ends of the tunnel. A woman's voice whispered clear as day, "You shouldn't have come." Ken fumbled for the door, but it wouldn't open. Something scratched the roof, rhythmic like fingernails on metal. In pure terror, Hiro slammed his foot on the gas. The car lurched forward, sputtering back to life just as a shadow lunged at the windshield. They shot out the other side, hearts pounding, the tunnel's cursed mirrors left behind. Dawn broke as they reached Tokyo, but the horror wasn't over. They stopped near Ikabukuro's Sunshine 60, the skyscraper built over the old Sugamo prison, where war criminals, including Hideki Tojo, had been executed. The building pulsed with modern life during the day, but at night, reports spoke of cold spots, elevators moving on their own, and ghostly figures in the corridors, echoes of the hanged and the tormented. Too wired to sleep, they wandered the nearby streets. In the quiet hours, Ken glanced up at the tower and saw a face in a high window, blank, staring down. Then another, and another. Aiko grabbed his arm. "They're waving." They fled to a 24-hour cafe, sharing what they'd seen. But as the sun rose, strange things followed them home. Hiro found his apartment door unlocked, though he double-checked it. Inside, his bathroom mirror was fogged with a single handprint. Aiko's phone kept receiving calls from her own number, the line dead when answered. Ken discovered old coins, pre-war yen, scattered on his floor, though he'd never collected them. Weeks later, the friends drifted apart, each haunted in their own way. Hiro quit school and moved far away, claiming the whispers followed him. Aiko suffered nightmares of burning flesh and endless trees. Ken, the skeptic, woke one night to find his room freezing and a woman in white standing at the foot of his bed, hair covering her face. She whispered, "The laws do not apply here," before vanishing. They never spoke of that night again. But those who listened closely in Japan's shadowed places, in tunnels where screams linger, forests where the lost gather, and towers built on execution grounds, say the veil is thin. The dead don't stay silent. They wait for the curious, the disrespectful, the ones who think horror is just a story, and sometimes they make sure you never truly leave.